Netflix just raised its prices again. They have to be losing subscribers like crazy, right?
Go watch that video, then come back here because I'm going to make some additional comments on that. He does a good job explaining a lot in such a short amount of time, but if you don't understand what a lot of that meant and all you heard was Netflix raising prices, you're missing a lot of the point. Yes, the raising prices is painful, I get that, but you're missing something much more important to that, okay? We're on a path of losing physical media. Okay. Now, something he doesn't talk about, and I'm going to loop in here, is that if you own DVDs, you need to start replacing some of those. The reason being is because disc rot is a thing with DVDs. DVDs were produced extremely cheaply. Okay. So they have a good shelf life. They're rated at 25 to 50 years, but even just normal circumstances, you can get disc rot. It's where the plastic starts to rot out and then the discs won't work anymore. So if you have physical copies you want to keep, get them on Blu-ray, the composition is a lot better. He does mention in there that Best Buy will stop selling Blu-rays and DVDs. Now, part of me wants to say that's just because Best Buy is a failed business model that's no longer relevant in today's world. At the same time, though, we're going to see that happen in other stores. They're going to start selling digital vouchers most likely. I've seen talk about that. He doesn't talk about that there, but they're going to sell you like a card where you can redeem the movie. So you physically went to a store and bought a film. Some people will still do that, but you don't own it. You bought a license to lease that movie. Read the agreement on anything digital you buy. He does talk about the Amazon issue. If you're not familiar with that in its entirety, I think he went over it. But basically, if you bought a movie through Amazon and you thought it was yours, it was not. You were leasing that. And the same goes with Amazon's music. I don't like the idea of the clutter of physical media, but at the same time, once you've bought the physical media, it's yours. To also touch back on something earlier, if you own physical CDs for music, that production technique was different. They're fairly safe from disc rot unless you leave them in direct sunlight or you have them in an area that's got a lot of heat and moisture. Most people do not have that, so they're fine. So your music CDs are absolutely fine. Every online platform is the same with this. If you get your music through Apple Music, Spotify, any of these places, you don't own that music. You're leasing it. They will charge you full price to lease it. If you wondered how 99-cent tracks worked, it's because you're leasing the music. That's why. So we need to make sure we're keeping physical media. All of these streaming services would love for you not to buy physical copies anymore, because when you buy a physical copy, that is it. You're probably not going to buy a copy of that again. But if it's digital, then they may charge you for that. We've already seen where like Disney Plus was charging people for a premiere of a movie more than what they'd pay in the theater, and their justification was, well, we think $20 to get it is fair considering you'd pay more than that at the theater, but I'm at my home. The theater experience is different. I will justify that with saying the theater experience is different. But streaming has become perverted. It is not what it was promised to be. And this was always going to be the path. This was my concern from the beginning. I used to talk about this offline because this is before I posted anything online, before TikTok even existed. But this is what they would like. They would like you to be in a leasing economy. This goes further too. If you own a computer and you think you own the computer, the operating system, you don't. Read your fine print. You were leasing a copy of Microsoft Windows. You were leasing a copy of the Apple OS. You don't own it. You don't own it at all. You paid a hefty price tag to lease it. At any point, they can decide to revoke that license, and then you can't use the operating system anymore. They haven't done that, but they can. And I'm not trying to fearmonger. That's not the point. I'm just saying read the fine print. It is there. It tells you that. Now, this is being shown with media to be happening. As I talked about in another video, I'm going to use Stranger Things by Netflix. Everybody loves to pick on Netflix. It's not that I want to pick on them because I do feel they take a lot of the brunt of this, even though they're not the only ones doing it. But if you watch Stranger Things season 1 and 2, you saw a version of the show. Target sold season 1 and 2 on DVD and Blu-ray for a limited time. That I know of, there's no Blu-rays for season 3 and up. If you have a copy of the Blu-ray, I urge you to watch an episode, then go watch what's on Netflix now. The show has been edited. There are guides online that tell you specifically what's changed. If you have both formats of that, if you have a Blu-ray or a DVD and then you have the streaming service still, go compare and see what's changed. They are actively editing shows. This is happening in original produced content. So what you may share with someone via Netflix and say, hey, go watch the show, it's great, their experience may be vastly different because they've decided to make edits after the fact. And that's very important because that means you're not consuming the same media. You're not getting the same product anymore. And we should be concerned with that because a narrative in a show could change based on what that studio wants. And that's different than a deleted scene or an alternate ending. We're in really weird territory here. And here's where I raise the red flag. The price hikes in Netflix don't bother me at this point because I still think it's a fairly decent value. If you don't like it, leave the platform. That's fine. Use your money to protest. I'm not telling you not to do that. I'm telling you should be doing that. But for me, it's still worth it. But if we get to a point where there's no physical media and you can't get that content, then it may become difficult to go ride the high seas to get that content. Because once the physical media is gone, and I'm warning everybody that keeps putting these videos out about how they put on a pirate hat, if you don't know what that means, it means they're going to go illegally acquire copies of that media from places online. I don't encourage that behavior. I think that it is something people are doing in response to it. I get it. I get why they're doing it. But I would not recommend you do that. In addition, there will come a point where VPNs do not matter anymore. And sorry, the video is getting long, but if you're riding the high seas at this point, please be aware that these companies provide VPNs. They're going to go where the money is. Right now, there's money in all the people paying for VPN subscription services. But once companies like Netflix no longer have physical media releases and all physical media is gone, they will start paying bounties to these VPN companies for information and for money. That will happen. You will see the tide turn. Not to be punny, but you will see the tide turn. So please keep that in mind. If anybody is not technologically savvy and wants to know more about these things and has specific questions, please feel free to leave comments. I would love to answer those questions for you and provide more insight. If you disagree, fine, leave a comment why you disagree. I'd be glad to explore those as well.